we have here the CCA Lyra all prepped up for unboxing and first impressions. So we see at the front of the box a silhouette of the IEM themselves, CCA Lyra, and the first time in a CCA or a KZ IEM is a short description. I think the CCA Lyra is the very first IEM in a series of constellations named IEMs in the CCA line. So we have here the crystal clear color version with the mic, and here are the specs. Its impedance and sensitivity seems to be properly acquainted for lower powered sources like smartphones and as such. So it's only 28 ohms. So on the other side, so typical if you're acquainted with the CCA or KZ packaging, so it's total this one. So it's a slips on style, and we're presented with the IEMs themselves. I've got a box that's the IEM is slightly tilted to the side. It's maybe because of the shipping or something that happened in shipping. So yeah. So as I mentioned, Constellation series of dynamic earphone from CCA. So let's take a look at the IEMs themselves. So nothing special in the unboxing. You've seen this 1,000 times. So yeah, there's nothing special to mention about the unboxing of this IEM. So first impressions of the build quality seems to be it's very lightweight for it's expected for the price, and but the real star of the build quality is the faceplate, because it has this let me focus it has this diamond like indentations and sculpting to the plastic inside of it. I don't know if this is glass or only plastic, but seems to be in the tactile feel of the faceplate that it's only plastic, and this one is a metal one. So here's at the back. So it seems to be the same mold as we see in the current KZ lineup in the we call it the collaboration with 𝗗𝗶𝗱 and HBB. So yeah, it has this like customized bump into it. At the back, you can see the single dynamic drivers sides. Let's put the IEMs aside. For the cable, seems to be like the same one we get in the recent KZ releases, the white one. So yeah, it's the same one as that, and their proprietary C-type connection. For the tips, okay, yeah, it's the I don't like this tips much, so yeah, I'll test them out, but I won't eventually use them in the long run. Yeah, CCA user guide, and that's all. There's nothing much to it that needs to be mentioned. So I will transition for our first impressions of the CCA Lyra and comparisons with other recent KZIMs such as the ESX. Welcome to the first impressions of the CCA Lyra. So for the first impressions of the CCA Lyra, it's pretty good. It's one of the best KZ/CCA IEMs that I've ever heard, but there's a huge but. So let's take a look and follow through with the first impressions of the CCA Lyra. So for the overall tonality of the CCA Lyra, it's a bright and a musical IEM. It's perfect for more modern genres. It still retains some KZ sensibilities, but at a more refined and a matured way. So first up, for the bass frequencies, it is mid-bass focus, but has a good extension into the sub-bass frequencies that provide ample meat and for the kicks to really punch through. So it has excellent resonance that attacks and decays at an average pace. So it's not a surgical and precise bass performance that really satisfies some of you that prefer a quicker and faster kicks. But yeah, it has a good punch to it that really satisfies bass heads out there. So although bass frequencies are apparent in every song you throw at it, it doesn't overthrow other frequencies or muddy up the mix. So it's a really good presentation of bass frequencies right there. So this is arguably the best bass execution I've heard from any KZ or CCA products. So bass heads will find themselves satisfied with some slight EQing. So it does not follow the typical KZ tuning of really boomy and V-shaped bass. So it's a surprise. The bass frequencies are the biggest surprise in this one. So for the mids, this is another surprise turn from KZ or CCA personally. So I have quite a few products of KZ in my collection, and this one is also one of the better executions in terms of the mid frequencies. It's very musical, so instruments are resolved at a great rate. Male vocals are great, but female vocals can get quite clean and sometimes peaky. More on this later when I discuss the treble frequencies. So overall, the mids has a lean presentation, so it needs more body and meat to the mids so that it can really elevate to a next level. But overall, the mids are really great on this one. If you're especially if you're comparing it to other KZ or CCA releases. For the treble frequencies, this is the Lyra's Achilles' heel. So it's the weakness of this one. So the upper, mid to lower treble frequencies are sometimes hastily tuned. So it follows the same lean theme as the mids. It can get also quite peaky on some modern tracks, especially those that has a really bright presentation of hi-hats to them. So sibilance can get very apparent when you really push into it, like reference songs of mine such as Michael Jackson's Dangerous, when he sings the word dangerous with the pronounced S in the end. It really pops, and treble sensitive ears can get quite hurt by it personally. So cymbals and hi-hats have great shimmer, yes, but due to the aforementioned tuning choices, they lack the body to them. So for the soundstage and imaging, soundstage is pretty much in your face. It's pretty intimate. Yet imaging is quite excellent due to the linear presentation for the upper mids and treble. So someone in Facebook and YouTube said that they want a comparison from the recent KZ release. Here it's the ESX. So I'm going quite straight to it. So for the bass, I think the CCA Lyra wins on this one, because the ESX sometimes can get quite boomy because it's too much of the mid bass frequencies. So if you throw bass heavy tracks to it, it overthrows almost every frequency in the mix. So for that one, the CCA Lyra wins. So for the mids, the CCA Lyra also wins because of its more musical and more defined presentation than the ESX. The ESX is pretty much a V-shaped IEM, so you don't quite expect for it to perform well in the mid-range frequencies. But for the treble, I think ESX wins because it still has its peaky presentation, but not as much as the CCA Lyra, because the CCA Lyra can get quite peaky if you really push into it. But the ESX, yes, it can get quite peaky, but not as much as the CCA Lyra. So for the soundstage and imaging, I think they're quite the same, honestly. Maybe the soundstage might be perceived as a little bit bigger in the ESX because of its V-shaped presentation, but overall in its intrinsic value, I think they're almost at the same performance when you consider their soundstage and imaging capabilities. So there's it. That's my first impressions and comparisons to the KZ-ESX of the CCA Lyra. So goodbye, Goji here. I'm out.